Hi, my name is Oscar and I'm a scientist. Today we're going to cover consular processing. Many of you have asked about this after I talked about adjustment of status, so let's jump into this one. As usual, let's do a quick recap on the EB2 NIW requirements because it's so important to at least understand them a little bit before jumping in the main topic. So EB2 NIW or National Interest Waiver is a green card category in which you can self-sponsor, which means that you don't have to have a job offer from a company and you don't have to do it with lawyers. You can choose to do so if you want. But to fulfill the requirements, you have to have an advanced degree or a bachelor and 5 years of progressive experience or show exceptional ability. And I have a separate video on exceptional ability you can watch. Then you have to meet the 3 prongs of the matter of Danasar. I have an entire separate video on this matter of Danasar, but you should know that you have to have an endeavor that has substantial merit and national importance to the US. You have to prove that you are well positioned to advance that endeavor, and on balance, it's beneficial for the US to waive that job offer because, again, in this category, you are self-sponsoring. Another introduction slide here is about the overall process. So there are usually 3 steps in an employment-based green card, and for EB2 NIW and for other types of green cards like EB1A, this first step called the PERM or the labor certification is not needed because you don't need a job offer for this type of green card. So it's crossed out here. But then there are 2 main steps. Usually we talk about the I-140 step where you have to show the USCIS that you fulfill all those requirements that we just described very briefly. And then we typically talk about the I-485 or adjustment of status. However, there's a lot of people that apply from abroad. You don't necessarily have to be in the US. So if you're in the US, you would do this I-485 adjustment of status because you would be going from a visa to a green card in the US, in the United States, without going abroad. And I have a separate video that I just released talking about adjustment of status that I will leave a link here. If you are one of those that live abroad and you are interested in immigrating into the United States from abroad, then you would not do an adjustment of status, you would do what is called consular processing. So consular processing, the topic of today's video, is the equivalent of an adjustment of status if you are abroad, if you have never been in the US, or better say, if you are currently not in the US as a visa holder. Let's talk about consular processing. The consular processing starts with I-140, like we saw earlier. Without the I-140 step, there's no consular processing, there's no adjustment of status. So first you have to have an I-140 mailed to USCIS in the United States. So even if you are from a different country, let's say you are in Canada or you are in Netherlands, in any country of the world that is not the US, you still need to mail this petition to the United States. And I have separate videos on how to put together this petition. In this I-140, you already indicate that you plan to apply to this green card through a US embassy or consulate in your country. And this is a screenshot that I took today from the I-140 form, where you see that you have to select one box. You either apply for this visa or green card abroad at a US embassy or consulate, or you will apply for adjustment of status in the US. So these are the 2 scenarios that I was talking about earlier. If you are abroad, then you will select this box and you will write what embassy or consulate you plan to finish the process in. As usual, I want to put in front of you the official information, even though you may follow my website, my YouTube channel, or other YouTube channels out there. You should always consult first with the official information from the US government. And for this particular consular processing step, you want to look at the Department of State website. And I leave a link here that I will put also in the description of the video. And this is a screenshot of how that website that I will be actually taking all this information from the very well put together website. You see that there's a chart that I will actually follow in my slides with the different steps of the process. So if you want to take a quick look, we can actually open it quickly. So this is the live website, and you have an interactive chart, and you can click each of the steps, and you will have the relevant information below that chart, including some very useful links that you can click on and go and read the official information. I do recommend that even though you will watch my video and get the information I will give you, which is from here, that you always go and consult this official website. All right, so let's move through that chart together. So the step number one is the one I already talked about. You have to submit a petition that in the case of EB2 NIW is called I-140. The I-140 form is mailed to USAS inside the US, like I said, and there's slight differences that we already saw about you already telling the USAS that you plan to do a consular processing instead of adjustment of status. This is the link to the I-140 official USAS website. Again, all the instructions for the form are there, and you can download there the most updated version as well of that form. The second step is what is called the NVC processing. NVC stands for National Visa Center, and we'll see that acronym a lot throughout this presentation. Once the I-140 petition is approved, then by USAS, there's a typo there, once the petition is approved by USAS, then USAS will notify this National Visa Center, which belongs to the State Department. The process will then hit a pause there if there's no visa number available. And that depends on what is your country of birth and the status at the moment of the lines of people. It depends how many applicants there are and how fast the USAS is moving. To know what is the expected processing time for you, then you should consult the visa bulletin. I have a separate video on how to interpret that visa bulletin. Typically, countries like India and China for the EB2 category have a line of people waiting for a few years, but other countries do not. But you should always check what is the most updated situation. Recently, USAS has been working hard to improve those times, and I have a separate video on how they plan to do that. Once this National Visa Center is notified by USAS of your approval, they will create what is called an alien number for you and notify you, and they will send you a welcome letter and a link to a portal, an online portal where you will do a lot of the following steps. And remember an important thing from this point, from the point where they let you know, the NVC lets you know, then you have 1 year to complete your well, not to complete, to proceed to the next step in the consular processing. And you will not get notified until your date on the visa bulletin is current. So you don't even need to check. You of course can check what is the expectation, but you will be notified by NVC once there is a visa number for you. The next step is to pay fees, but these are not the only fees that you will pay in this process. So we'll come back to that later. You will get that letter, and they will ask you in that letter to pay the fee. And this is called the visa application processing fee, and it covers the cost of your consular processing. It is currently about $350 per person. So if you are a principal applicant and then there's other people in your family applying with you, then each person will need to pay this fee. By the way, this is much lower than the adjustment of status fee, which is over $1,000 per person. So this is one of the pros of consular processing. This fee can be paid online, and I say here yay for consular processing because not many, or at least not the majority of the processes at USAS can be done online, so especially payments. So this is really good. You will see that this CEAC portal will be used for many things. So this is a screenshot of that portal and how you can pay the fee and get the receipt for of that payment. The next step is what is called online application, and note that I jumped over these two steps, 4 and 5, related to affidavit of support and financial documents, because since this is a self-sponsored visa, you do not need to do those two. In step 6, the online application, you will fill the form DS-260, which is the application for immigrant visa and alien registration. And you can do this online, and I say WA for consular processing because a lot of things can be done online. This is actually a screenshot of an example of someone that has paid the fees needed in this particular case, and then they can start the application. And once you're done, you will print the confirmation because you will need to bring it later to your interview. So that's an important point. The next step is to gather your documentation, what they call the civil documents. After you submit that DS-260, then you will need to start gathering everything they ask you to. For example, if you are having your family in this consular processing with you, then you will need things like birth certificates, marriage certificates, passport copies, all of that. And everything will need to be translated to English if it's in a different language. This is similar to what is requested in an adjustment of status. I talked about that in the video that I made. It's exactly the same. It's just here, luckily for you, you can actually upload your documents to an online system. So the next step is scan your documentation. They will provide the list of what you need to submit, and then you have that platform, so you will prepare everything for upload. So don't mail anything, scan it, and then upload it. Use only one file per document. Don't scan a lot of things like birth certificates, marriage certificates, and passport all together and put it in one file. Each file has to be for one document, and then save them as PDF. They prefer PDF, but they also accept an image JPG format. Don't give them anything that is above 2 megabytes of size. If it's bigger than this, you have to compress it in a zip format. Everything that you scan must be in color. And there's other guidelines that you should consult in this travel.gov website. So you make sure that all your files are acceptable. The next step is to submit your documentation using that online platform that you will have access to. So everything can be uploaded here. So very, very nice process compared to the adjustment of status where you have to do everything in paper format. Now, the interview part. So before the interview, they will schedule your interview time. Typically, they don't ask you for your availability. They will just send you a letter inviting you to the interview. And then before going, you have to prepare certain things. And one of the important things is your medical examination report. You have to consult, depending on what embassy or consulate you're going to, what authorized doctor they allow. There are only a few doctors in each region that can do this process, and you will have to go to one of those. They will give you the results in a sealed envelope. Don't open it because you need to bring the sealed envelope to your interview. What they are looking here is they are looking at the general status of your health, including, and most importantly, vaccination record. And if you don't have certain vaccines, they will ask you to get vaccinated, and then you can get this report from the doctor. Then you have to do other things like register for courier services and other instructions that you may get from your specific consulate, and gather the documents for the interview. Things that everyone will need in the interview is 2 pictures, and there's guidelines as to how to take the pictures and what size and whatnot. And then you will need to bring all the originals from those documents that you uploaded in a previous step to the CEAC portal. Marriage certificates, birth certificates, and so on. You'll bring them in the original format to the interview with you. Don't worry, they will not take them away. They will give them back. They may ask you for them to check that they are actually real and true, but you will get them back. The interview is step number 11. You have to attend at the scheduled time. Please don't miss it. If you have to change the date or time, there's guidelines on how to do that. But if you don't do that, make sure you are there on the time and date and place they specify. Bring your confirmation of the form DS-260 that you did a few steps earlier, 2 pictures, check the requirements for the pictures, and all the originals for the civil documents that we talked about, the sealed envelope for the medical examination, and the appointment letter that you would have gotten, where they tell you at what time you have to go and so on. Check if there's any embassy-specific instructions. Sometimes there may be some special things that a particular consulate may ask you to do. And then all family members part of your petition should attend. So if your spouse, if you have kids, they are coming to the US with you, they should be with you in the interview as well. So you did the interview, what happens next? Well, so hopefully your immigrant visa, your green card is approved. So they will let you know how you will receive your passport and the visa. What they will do is they will take your passport and they will put a stamped visa on it. And that's the first proof that you got your green card, but that's not the green card, the actual card. Before traveling to the US, you have to pay one more fee, the USCIS immigrant fee, and this fee covers the production of the card itself. As of now, is $228 per person, and this payment can be done online too, so double or triple thumbs up for USCIS. You can also wait to pay inside the US. Once you get to the US, you can get in the US with that visa stamp in your passport and then pay. But you won't get the green card until you do all that. So it will be a delay in getting your actual green card. So it's always recommended to pay as soon as possible once you get your passport with your visa after the interview. And that way you get the green card as soon as possible. When traveling to the US, it's important to know that you as the principal applicant must enter the country first or at the same time than the derivative family members, your spouse, your kids. This is important. Your spouse cannot go a few days before you. You are the main applicant, so they have to go with you or they have to go later than you. And this is pretty much the overview of the consular processing. If you have some question or you want to get more detail in a particular step, we can do a video about different stages of this process. I know one request will be talk about the interview, and we can do a video on interviews for adjustment of status and consular processing. So this is it for today. If you are curious about learning more about EB2 NIW, please visit my website, eb2niw.info, where I have a couple of things for download. You can download my I-140 petition, the real and successful petition, and you can use it for your reference when you're preparing your own. And recently I also added an adjustment of status petition, which today we're talking about consular processing. So if you are doing consular processing, do not download this adjustment of status because it's for the other audience. It's for the audience that is applying from the US, not for you. Recently, I have started coaching people and I offer a service of reviewing applications. So I will not write the petition for you, but I will be a second set of eyes. I will support you through the process with answering questions and reviewing your package to provide some points to make it stronger, to make it more effective at the time of submission. We will have calls to talk about it, about the strategy, about the edits that can be done, and we will get to meet one another as well and share thoughts on this process, and hopefully this will be very helpful for your own application. If you are interested, go to my services part of the website. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe if you liked it, and share with everyone that may be interested in this EB2 NIW journey to the United States.